Hello everyone and welcome back to another book review. Today I am going to be reviewing Volume 2 in a manga series that I have been reading, Correspondence from the End of the Universe. The story and art is by Menota, and this is what the cover looks like. Review of Volume 1 is on my channel if you want to check it out. So I'm going to assume some base familiarity, but I am going to recap Volume 1 before diving into Volume 2. So let's jump in and talk about Correspondence from the End of the Universe. So our main character is featured here on the cover, and his name is Marco. He is a recent college graduate from Russia who is unfortunately now working in a universe creation or a planet creation factory somewhere around the end of the universe, basically somewhere in outer space. Marco was a normal guy. He had lost his family in a car accident and he just graduated college, looking forward to traveling the world with his older lover and exploring adulthood now that he has finished his college studies. Unfortunately, unbeknownst to him, because Earth is a closed planet and therefore is not available or doesn't understand there are other planets and universes out there for him to explore, he did not realize that throughout the galaxy, random people are assigned to work in the factory that keeps the universe running. The factory, it's more like a corporation with different areas. There's little outposts that kind of manage the running of the universe. Marco is one of those individuals who is selected for duty unbeknownst to him. He just kind of gets zapped up into this location and his whole world is overturned. He has to do a 10-year tour of duty at this factory with no way of contacting home, and his entire plans for his life are disrupted. Not only because he didn't know there was alien life, he was unfamiliar with how the universe was run. He didn't realize it was a corporation style. He didn't know people could be drafted into service in this way and that everyone throughout the universe gets randomly pulled. And of course, he has no way of contacting his family, or he doesn't have much family, but his friends and his lover, his plans, his whole life has been overturned. So in Volume 1, there was a key focus on him trying to escape, and there was a failed escape attempt at the end of Volume 1, which is where we pick up Volume 2. So in Volume 2, we start with something that ended in Volume 1, which is Marco's heart is missing. So at the very end of the escape attempt, this ethereal space snake worm wormed its way through space. This is a very fantastical manga series, so we'll just start there. Wormed its way through space and wound up going through Marco's chest, and as it's discovered in the beginning of this volume, has stolen his heart, which is no big problem, because when you're on this tour of duty creating planets and making the universe running, you can't actually die. In fact, you may die, but then you'll be brought back to life immediately and everything's fine. However, if you leave your tour of duty without all your limbs and internal organs in place, you will die. So you're kind of protected from death in this time, but by the end, if Marco goes back to Earth after his 10 years and he hasn't recovered his heart, which has been stolen by this mystical snake worm, he will die. So Marco is quite concerned about this. He wants his heart back, and this snake that is known to mythology and tales to take things. He wants his heart back because he needs it, but it's not quite pressing because he's only been here for a couple months and he has 10 years to get his heart back. However, it's still concerning because he doesn't have his heart, which is quite disturbing to him. However, when we now have this push and pull where there's this long-term problem, or there's a big problem, but with a long-term due date, and then we have the short-term issue of the day-to-day life that he is living. So Marco also has a big heart-to-heart with the director, who's just someone who's been there the longest at the workstation that he's at, about the struggle of being in this position, of having left everyone, of having been sucked up, and the director kind of informs him, first of all, yes, he didn't choose it, but that he's not the only one. Every single person who's been pressed into service in this manner has given something up. Many people have left people at home who they have no way of contacting, and the terms of service are long, and there's no way of knowing what life is going to be like when you get back. It's hard to imagine someone's waiting 10 years. Imagine if you were dating someone and they just disappeared out of nowhere after graduating college and you were supposed to do something. Are you going to wait 10 years for them to show up, or are you going to assume they just decided to run off into the wind? Like, no one is probably going to wait 10 years. So most of these people's lives, or the way they thought their lives were going to go, have been entirely upended. So Marco starts to get a little compassion just from this, or he starts to understand that he's not the only one who has given something up, but that doesn't make his situation any less hard. He's also kind of given some cold hard facts about the fact that escape isn't really possible from this scenario, he's probably going to have to serve out his 10 years. And now that he's missing his heart, he doesn't want to go back to Earth, because going back to Earth would mean that he would then die because he's no longer protected. He needs to get his heart back first. However, just because you are on this tour of duty doesn't mean you can't go anywhere. He can go to many other planets and continue to explore this universe that he didn't know existed, which is of course both somewhat horrifying and somewhat interesting to Marco. So he still has his day-to-day tasks of building the universe and working in this corporation sort of lab situation, working with his co-workers, having to interact with things that are totally foreign and different from him, while also having this overarching plot of wanting to get his heart back and then worrying about what his future is going to look like when he does get back to Earth. Overall, I think this was a really good, solid second entry to the book. Normally when I read volume one in a manga series, I'm looking for potential more than I'm looking for a really solid volume one. I find volume one tends to be a lot of exposition, and I'm looking to see whether I think there's potential for the series to continue. Also, I have to make sure my library has copies of the book so I can keep reading the series. So when I read volume one, I felt like there was a lot of potential. I feel like the author spent a lot of time building the world, and now that volume two has set up this overarching story of him needing to kind of put his body back together before his 10-year turn is up, along with the minute day-to-day slice of life sort of plot, I think those two work really, really well together, and I think we're set up for a very, very interesting story. I do have volumes 3 and 4 out, but I have not read them, so I'm going to continue to read them, but I feel like volume 1, my suspicion about the potential in volume 1 was correct, and that volume 2, with this overarching plot set up with the slice of life, is really, really well done, and I liked it. I think the author does a really good job of making these unique planets, aliens, situations, and he spends a lot of time on the detail. That's something else I really, really like. The author, you can tell, really appreciates and puts a lot of work into, for example, there's just multiple pages of this particular species' view on marriage, which is a subplot, and then just little toys for this creature that they've taken on, and then different foods made out of rocks. So many little details the author takes information. The bedroom. And I think this attention to detail is really clear throughout the story. Something else that I really appreciate every time a manga series does is when you have a character summary and then a summary of the story thus far on this like introduction page. I really like it, especially when you have a series, because I feel like the assumption is that you can just get the next volume and read it right away and understand what's happening. But either when the volumes are first coming out and there's a long delay between publication, or when you're a library reader and you have to wait for holds to come in or other people to stop reading the book so you can read the book, there's a potential for some of the minute details to kind of get lost in the cobwebs and you need a refresher. And I really appreciate when a manga series has this character page and a summary. So every time I see this, I give the book rating like an extra star, because I really appreciate this and I wish many, many series would do this. Not all of them do, but I really appreciate when this is included. So overall, I think this is a very, very good, interesting, fun, lighthearted read with some more serious topics. I will caveat that this is rated teen 13+. It is fun, it is brightly colored. There are some scenes in it that around death that I would say are probably not appropriate for small kids, for like kids under 13, or just glance through it yourself to see if it's what you want your kids reading if you do plan to give it to a kid. So yeah, there are some scenes around death that probably aren't going to be suitable for young kids, but other than that, it's like a clean, fun, slice of life, interesting alien manga. There really isn't much not to like. And I think besides the really young kids audience, this could appeal to a wide range of people. So if you have someone in your life who likes manga, or you like manga and you want to check out something a little different, I would recommend this series. I've been enjoying it and I look forward to reading volumes 3 and 4. If you've read this series, have any thoughts or comments, please put it in the comment section down below. I'd love to receive your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.